Wetzel.
Thank you, Regents. In my submitted report, you'll find what the Associated Students of UW Tacoma has been doing in regards to our historic levels of student engagement and legislative advocacy and our continuing efforts to uplift student basic needs, campus development efforts, and initiatives to create an inclusive and accessible campus in partnership with our university's leadership. Now, in my position as ASUW Tacoma President, one of my many duties that I am required to do is communicate the official opinions of the student body of the University of Washington Tacoma campus, as determined by our elected ASUW Tacoma Senate. At this time, I have the obligation to communicate a message from the ASUW Tacoma's Student Senate leadership in light of the vote that took place at last night's committee meeting. Our students are witnessing a mass civilian casualties and systemic destruction in Gaza that many international authorities have deemed to be a genocide. When students see these acts, they naturally question whether their university's investments connect them to this violence. The ASUW Tacoma Senate responded to these concerns very carefully to ensure any action they took accurately represented UW Tacoma student voices. They consulted student organizations, met one-on-one with students, and conducted a student survey where 91% of students supported divestment from Israel. These factors resulted in the UW Tacoma Student Senate passing a resolution calling for the reformation of the Advisory Committee on Socially Responsible Investing to investigate whether or not to divest from companies profiting from the violations of international law and human rights regarding Palestine. After hearing that the Board of Regents' position is that this issue is too divisive to warrant the formation of the Advisory Committee, the ASUW Tacoma Senate leadership asked that I express to you all that they are disappointed with this decision, and that I respectfully ask the following question to the Regents on their behalf. What is the purpose of having mechanisms for reviewing investments for ethicality if they cannot be activated when difficult ethical questions arise? Divisiveness itself should not prevent the examination of investments when endorsements from all required bodies have been met. The very purpose of having an ethical investment framework is to provide guidance during complex situations where values and interests appear to be in tension. The board's decision to block the evaluation process has created troubling precedent. It suggests that our university's ethical framework operates conditionally, accessible when concerns are comfortable, but suspended when they are not. In conclusion of the Senate's comments, I now, in my capacity as ASUW Tacoma President, ask the following question with the intention to take back to this Tacoma Senate's leadership. What additional steps do you need the UW Tacoma Student Senate leadership to take to have UW Tacoma student concerns heard through the formation of the Advisory Committee? What is the next step forward here for students?
Thank you, Holly. Next, we have ASUW Seattle President, Naomi Snow.
Awesome, good afternoon. I want to begin by reaffirming ASUW's unwavering support for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and our commitment to ensuring that higher education remains accessible for all students. One of our biggest focus points this quarter has been the state legislative session and advocacy efforts for financial aid expansion, and unfortunately, even just protections. ASUW strongly supports the Washington College Grant and financial aid as a whole. Accessibility isn't just about tuition, though. It's also about ensuring students can afford basic needs while pursuing their education. ASUW strongly supports programs like SNAP EBT, Medicaid, and any resource that helps students afford food, healthcare, and housing. Any cuts to these programs or changes to financial aid eligibility would be a major setback for the thousands of students at UW and across the nation who rely on them. A key part of this work has also been raising awareness of current events and encouraging civic engagement among students about how these policies impact them, ensuring they understand the power of their voice in shaping higher education policy. We have been strongly encouraging students to contact their legislators, lobby in Olympia, and just get more involved. As we move into spring, our busiest time of the year, we are focused on several key areas, very fun and exciting, but our budget and internal policy. We are currently finalizing our budget and reviewing governing documents to ensure we are responsibly allocating student fees and improving organizational efficiency. We also have a very event-heavy quarter. A big focus is just on programming and engaging students in person. This includes our annual elections and inauguration, spring show, annual concert, student wellness week, campus safety week, an ASUW formal and ASUW fair. A lot of events, but the overall goal is just to put more of the money back into the students and to just get more people involved. Beyond governance and events, we continue to prioritize student health and safety. To give some examples of how we are actually doing this spring, ASUW is funding and sponsoring free STI testing after spring break to promote student health, self-defense classes to provide students with personal safety skills, spring break health and wellness kits. And yeah, thank you so much. Spring will be an exciting and impactful time, and ASUW remains focused on ensuring that students are supported, engaged, and heard as we close out the year and I'll close out my term. Thank you for your time. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Naomi. Next, we have GPSS President Richard Schure.
Good afternoon, Regents and colleagues. I'm pleased to give you an update on the Graduate Professional Student Senate's activities since our last Board of Regents meeting, January 9th. I included a concise overview for all of you, but to recap several of the things, I have begun chairing a new supporting students group formed to coordinate and strengthen student support services across the University of Washington. And I've engaged key campus partners, including the Kelly Ethnic Cultural Center, Leadership Without Borders, the Q Center, and Student Legal Services, all of whom have expressed strong interest in building a more integrated network of support for students. There are a number of students that have expressed interest in participating in this as well, and I imagine and foresee expanding this to graduate and undergraduate students. In February, I created what I've called a pulse survey to survey the graduate students about their well-being and perspectives on recent federal changes. The Vice President of Equity in GPSS and two of the executive senators and I are analyzing both quantitative and qualitative data, and we look forward to sharing insights soon, especially student stories, which can be quite moving. Many of the students, and just to summarize, the survey did capture potential financial impacts as well as mental health and how people are feeling. So I think that this is really important data to capture. The survey took place February 13th to the 21st, and we just have to convene to process this data. And we would love to share it with the board and state legislators as well. We also have a health fee survey that we just discussed last night in our Senate to collect data on graduate student perspectives regarding health fees, which aims to inform future discussions and policies about student health care costs and what those might look like. Our ongoing committee work, we have our judicial committee, who is currently conducting a comprehensive bylaw review to update and improve and streamline things. Our Finance and Budget Committee has successfully reduced our budget deficit from about $50,000 in the fall to about $7,000. So that is within striking distance of being a balanced budget. Having inherited such a large deficit has been quite difficult for GPSS, but we are on track to balance that budget soon. Legislative Advisory Board, Diversity Committee, Sustained Dialogue, Arts Council, and Book Club all continue to meet regularly, providing outlets for advocacy, dialogue, cultural programming, and community building. Funding opportunities. We still have our travel grants and diversity funding. They remain available for graduate students and support travel to conferences and organization of events and programs that promote diversity. We also continue to highlight additional funding sources at each of our meetings through regular Senate announcements so that we can ensure that our students are aware of those resources for them, especially in these times. We've had a number of Senate meetings since we last met. We've had 3 Senate meetings, January 22nd, February 19th, and yesterday, last night, March 12th. We've had some notable guest speakers that include the Graduate School Dean, Joy Williamson-Lott, UW Impact, UW Alumni Association, and the UPass representatives, all of whom shared great information for graduate students. It's always really nice to hear from Dean Joy and everyone else about what the graduate school does. And we passed quite a number of resolutions as well. We've had some very productive Senate meetings. Since January, we've passed the installation of menstrual product dispensers in male restrooms for greater accessibility and inclusion, support for the Washington Yacht Club, something fun, and its role in student engagement, acknowledgement and support for undocumented students and families on campus, and a resolution to join the United States Student Association, USSA, which a few of my colleagues have discussed. And that's to strengthen our national level of advocacy. We also passed last night a piece of legislation honoring the Transit Appreciation Week and King County Metro bus driver Sean Yim. And we passed another piece of legislation opposing Bill 5785 and in support of House Bill 1839, which reflects our advocacy priorities in Olympia. We also created a new tool, which is quite useful. It is the Equity Resources Guide and Toolkit, and that is in keeping with our commitment to inclusivity. And we have placed this on our website, and it consolidates useful information and strategies to foster equity in academic and social settings. Our legislative advocacy list, we attended Huskies on the Hill. Mikhail Lemke, our VP External, led the graduate student group with that. Students traveled to Olympia, and we advocated for higher education funding and tried to implement our legislative agenda, which unfortunately all of our student-led bills have failed to advance at this point. Unfortunately, we as a state are facing quite a large budget deficit, and this has affected us a bit. Just to sort of wrap up, I have a number of other things in there, but I did want to bring up the Washington, D.C. trip that we will be attending. There will be 4 GPSS representatives attending, and we will be restarting the USSA presence, and UW will be taking a leading role there. There are a few other things in my report, but in the interest of time, I will wrap up with you with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. I just wanted, before I move on to Mark Ostersmith, to compliment all the presidents for being so busy and for taking time to give us such thorough reports. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your great work. You are the backbone of our student body, so we appreciate your effort, your skill, and your time. So let's move to Alumni Association President Mark Ostersmith.
Hi, everybody. Am I good? Yep. So, as others have said, I just want to reiterate my appreciation and admiration at the measured and educated decision-making process that the board and your predecessors have made on very difficult decisions, but that process has allowed this university to thrive for 160 plus years in very difficult times, and will continue to do so. So thank you for that. As members of the UWA, many of us appreciate the benefits that come with that membership, and some of those opportunities are listed in the written report, but we're always looking to attract new and prospective and renewing members. And we want to specifically thank BECU. They've made a matching gift contribution to help in those efforts, so we appreciate their help there. If you check in your inbox after this meeting, you'll see a action alert from UW Impact talking about exactly what we're talking about here. So it's a huge part of our mission to galvanize our alumni to act on behalf of the university, and so we encourage you to do that, and all of our members, frankly. And then finally, I just wanted to update you on the Welcome Center that we excitedly approved just the last meeting. It continues to move at an incredible pace. There's currently reviewing design build opportunities with builders, and so again, that wouldn't have happened without the support of the trustees and the faith placed in this partnership. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your help with the Welcome Center, Mark. Appreciate what the Alumni Association does. I need to apologize. The legislative update, we have our stellar team who've been waiting for a while to give their report. Let's call them forward, please. We have Randy Hodgins, Vice